Hello, everyone. We are live. Today is Thursday. And as you know, Thursday is interview day. So, for those of you who are joining us, a few household tips. If you're joining us live, in the comments below, hashtag live. If it's the replay that you're watching, hashtag replay. Tell me where you're coming from because I always love to know where people are from. As you know, I am in Mexico. My guest today is from the USA. We will find out exactly where. Also, please, above or below the video, there's a strip that says StreamYard. If you click on that, it will allow StreamYard to use your name. Otherwise, if you want to interact with us and you don't click on that, you will come across as Facebook user. And we, my guest and I, will not know who is trying to interact with us. And we love to address you by name. And so if you want to ask a question, feel free to do so. If you want to comment, feel free to do so. If you just want to react, then send us some hearts because we love, 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 love hearts. And so does the algorithm love hearts. Okay. Usually what I do at this point is tell you about how I met my guests. We actually were on the same project, Shika Kana's 100 self-portraits, 100 dreams. And we were both part of this project. We were mamas on this project. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, but we're mostly going to talk about my guests. So let me introduce my guests right now. And yeah, Yamile, oh, there you are. How are
Hello.
you doing? You're in your car with your babies. Great,
Yes.
great. Okay. You went blank on us again. Do you want to try to turn on your camera? Can you hear me, Jamile? Okay, I think I lost connection with you. Let me try this again. Um, try to bring you in again. Oops, I lost connection. My guest has disappeared. So let's wait a few minutes and a few seconds and see if she will contact us again. Let's see. Let me send her a message. I hear that she's back on. There she is. A little few techie problems. That's great. Okay, there
I
you
love
are.
I love it. Look,
It-
this is being mindful. Mindful of what is around us, all that stuff. And when
yes.
something can happen, it will happen if you're a mama. You know.
Absolutely. And we're live, so anything can happen. And we want it, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. It is life as it is. And
Yes.
I know how busy you are. We're going to go into that in a moment. I was just explaining to my audience how we met. We met in Shika Kana's project. And oh, don't tell me she left us again. Jamile, are you there?
Hi.
Oh, there
Yes.
you are.
I'm here.
So
Yeah.
can you talk a little bit about how you got involved in Shika's project, which was is 100 self-portraits, 100 dreams, that
Let me
coffee
tell you what.
book?
That powerful source, I got to
Yeah.
meet it before it came to fruition. She
Uh-huh.
came to my event called The Wild Woman. And it
Right.
was Unleash That Wild Woman Within. It was 3 a.m. when Shika was still breastfeeding her son and
Wow.
taking the class from her bed. And she literally woke up, literally and figuratively woke up and said, I must, I will, I can. And that is when this beautiful project of 100 portraits, 100 dreams are coming through all of us, including you, Rosie.
Oh,
So,
absolutely, absolutely. Both of us were in the project, and I remember that you were MC introduce, and you were the best MC ever. I mean, that is
uh,
part of your personality for sure. You were the best MC to promote the project, and also when you promoted, I remember the 100th mom, which we were all on our toes waiting to see who the 100th. Of course, it made so much sense. It being Chica.
Of
you know?
course. Absolutely. Yes. And
Okay.
she's just been such a beautiful example. I went to her self-portrait. Let me tell you, Lucy,
Yeah.
mind blown. I actually stopped posting pictures until I went to her event and I was like, wait, what? There's
Yeah.
another layer?
Yeah.
Another? So yeah, it's she's amazing, amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have also attended a couple of her workshops, and she will, just turn things around for you and just make you really realize that it's so important for you to be in front of the camera and
Yes.
express who you really are, and not worry about
Mm,
the external stuff. It's okay. Let's talk about
yes.
you. Okay, now I know you're a mom of five children, 24 to 2 years old. You're a coach of
Yes.
badass mamas. You're a rowing coach. And you're about to start a number one, I think, Netflix for mamas. We're going to talk about this in a bit. Can you tell me, or maybe look at a pivotal moment, an important moment in your life that so inspired you to become that healer and that coach for the badass mamas? What led you down that path?
Given birth at 45. When this was 2 years ago, he is in his 2 years. If anybody knows about, people call it terribles, and I'm calling it awareness. I'm calling it
Wow.
openness. I'm calling it allowing me to be even more mindful. Probably do not take a nap when the baby's awake, right? Like just
Right.
so many beautiful awareness. So at 45 years young, I was in the doing mode. I was still like doing my business. I was in business for 4 years, still struggling, still like, oh, but I've got to do this. I'm certified in 27 different certifications, from
Oh my God.
NLP to hypnotherapy, timeline therapy, happiness, Ho'oponopono. Look, the list goes on. And yet, what I realized is that it was none of those pieces of paper or processes that made me a healer. It was who I came to be. It
Right.
was the who that drew in the what I do now. And
Yeah.
so I'm a healer of limitations. I'm a healer of that mind believing all of the stuff that we've been conditioned to believe. No, you're too fat. You're too loud. You're too much. You are not enough. Like you need to be a PhD in order to be a good psychologist. All of these conditions of the world that at one point were put there to supposedly protect. But when we
Right.
know who we are, we no longer need external validation or external protection because we
Right.
already know we are that. We are freedom. We are love. We are joy. We are peace. We are happiness. And if we don't have that, we are thinking that the external is going to validate any of that. And so
Yeah.
motherhood at 45 has wowed me, invigorated me, created that real who I am.
Look at you, and you're so full of vigor right now. I mean, every time I talk to you, big smile on your face. You're just always just ready to go. As a mom of five, with such diverse ages, other than having a child, your last child at the age of 45, what other personal experiences influence your decision to want to help other moms, with their empowerment journey? Because this is a biggie.
Yeah. So the remembrance of my childhood, the
Ah,
remembrance of going to over 20 schools until I graduated high school, living in
wow.
foster homes and shelters, being molested by three different men, remembering all that, not so that I could sit in the pain, but remembering what was my mother feeling
Right.
as a mom now, I look and if all of that was happening to my children, the guilt, the shame, the attack, self attack, because the biggest enemy we've got is right here.
Right.
I am the
Absolutely.
one that brings and tears myself down like, oh, you just ate that cookie, but you just did 10 squats. Like, who are you? So it was the awareness and remembrance of me as a child, and knowing that when I was pushing and doing, it was a conditioned behavior as the child that had to clean up after my molesters. I will never forget, I was 15 and I brought him a meal and it wasn't warm enough and he threw it. And I had to clean it up because my mom broke down with an anxiety attack. We didn't call it that back then. We called
No.
it whatever, hysteria. And
Yeah.
so I had to clean up for him and for my mom. And I had to just shut up, not say anything. And so the remembrance of that child, Yamile, that did not have the opportunity, that now I get to do that for my children and for my mamas who are mindful, badass mamas. Give them the opportunity to be like, you know what? Yeah, shit happens because it's going to happen. We're alive. We're here for that. But
Right.
what can we do when it does spill? What can we
Oh,
learn from it?
oh my God, I'll tell you. There must have been a point at which you became aware. I mean, there's an awareness that has to happen at one point. I mean, you talk about your background and you talk about the molestation. There's got to be at some point a click that happens in the mind. Can you remember when that moment happened?
So it's funny because as a child, it didn't click then. Like
No,
I
I'm
saw a
sure.
lot of different abuse and
Mhm.
living from these places anywhere from Maine all the way down to Florida. So what I'm aware of now, the clicking is, oh my goodness, I became an incredible influencer. Although the people around me called me your manipulator. I
Oh,
became an incredible mindful person because I'm like, where am I now? Oh, I am in this city right now. Because as a child, it was in the middle of the night. So we were like, kind of like, what's going on? And
yeah.
so all of the bad things, the bad ingredients that happened to me, now I realize it was the truth of who I am now. That
Yeah.
loud, that audacious, that big dreamer. That's the kid sitting in someone's classroom who was
Yeah.
gone. She was looking at this moment right now, talking to Lucy Rosa-Stagi, who is an
Um,
incredible badass mama, who is now traveling the world, interviewing incredible humans.
like
That
yourself.
little girl thought of this, of,
Wow.
ooh, what would it be like? What would it be
Yeah.
like? And I
It,
live it now.
the visualization and the imagination
Mm,
is the co-creator of our life. I mean, without
yes.
it, you cannot create it. It's unbelievable. By the way, I meant to ask you, where in the USA are you?
I'm in North Carolina.
North
I'm in
Carolina.
the Piedmont Triad, North Carolina. Yeah, we call it the Tray Four. It depends who you're talking to. We call it that different ways.
Okay. Were you born there?
No, I was born in Patterson, New Jersey, which is right
Okay.
outside of Passaic, if you're familiar with Passaic.
Yeah, but I've heard of Paterson, New Jersey, because I lived in New York, and so it wasn't too far away. That's unbelievable.
Yes.
So, how did you end up in North Carolina? Is it because you were married and your husband was from there, or
No, that was the, I would say that would be the final destination. So I was at University of Massachusetts in Amherst. I was studying to be a teacher, a math teacher. And in my third year, my family decided to move down here because they were in textiles. And so textiles started shutting down in New England and came down to North Carolina. So I was 21. I came
interesting?
down. I was gonna go back to school, you know, the whole deal. I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
Ended up pregnant with my first son. And the story of my 5 kids is that those 5 kids had 3 baby daddies,
Okay.
3 different gentlemen that, although 2 of them were not very nice to themselves, I'm gonna say, they didn't
Okay.
even know who they were because
Therefore,
I
not
am.
nice to you. Yeah.
Yeah, yes. They didn't even know who they were. So
Right.
one of them was a player and had many women, and the other one was addicted to some pretty bad substance, and he passed away because of it. So
Wow.
that first one that happened, and then the second one, he was just very concerned with his own habits.
Right.
So after that, just when I was here in North Carolina, I was running from all that. I was like, oh, screw men. I'm going to screw men, if you know what I mean. Like, I was just like, I'm
Like,
tired of this.
yeah.
And then in one moment, one of my friends took me to a club, and this was what's so amazing. It was an all black over 50 club, and I
Wow.
got in there, and I was 29 at the time. And then my husband now got in there, and he's a white man that was even younger than me. He's 6 years younger than me.
It's
And we both
unbelievable.
met there. Unbelievable. It's because our friends, proximity is power. Our
Yeah.
friends were African American. And so we got to see that side because of our awareness, our friendships. They took us, we met there. We've been inseparable for the past 15 years.
I see it differently. I see the universe had it for, knew that the two of you had to be together. It didn't matter how. It just
Yes,
created that moment for you, created that avenue for you, the venue for you. So,
yes,
I mean, you weren't supposed to be there. Everything said you couldn't be there. And
yes,
it's amazing. It is amazing when you look back. You can connect those dots. But you can't do it forward. Too bad.
yeah,
That's You have an amazing story. I love your story. I do want to ask you a personal question. How does a woman like you with 5 children, and with children who have different dads, how do you handle all that? I mean, I know one passed away, but you still have almost 3 dads to work with. How do you
yeah.
manage that? How does one
So
manage?
before the awakening, before the awareness, before, like, there's so many names out there, before the alignment with our truest self, I wasn't handling it. I
Yeah.
was actually over drinking. Like, I used to binge drink every single night. As a principal of a school, I would
Wow.
work 80, 100-hour weeks. I would get home and I would drink. I would wake up in the morning and the cycle kept on going. So I wasn't dealing with it before. I
Right.
was covering it up with food or alcohol or just hating, like angry all the time. I was in what I call the immature masculine side of me, because we all have our masculine and our feminine side, and I was in the immature masculine so much that I was pushing my husband to the immature feminine. So he was taking care of the house, he was cleaning up, he was making sure the kids got to point A, making sure kids of another dad were getting from point A to point B.
Wow.
So we were both polarized, and we both just had a
Something.
difficult time with that. And
Hmm.
so until I was able to come into a moment of despair, that was the pandemic. So when you were asking earlier, what were the triggers? What were the triggers? There was many. Have you ever seen the movie of series of unfortunate events?
No, I haven't. No.
Oh my goodness! Anybody
Sounds
who
like
not
very
watched
interesting.
it was a series of unfortunate events. I lost my business at the pandemic.
Hmm.
The only job I could get was working with seniors. I was cleaning their butts, and I was still binge drinking. And so I went to an event in July, literally 3 years ago. Right now, the same event is going in the UK with Tony Robbins. And I went to that event and I gave up drinking after decades of drinking alcohol. And 30 days after that, I got COVID. So I could no longer work, which would
Hmm.
have been a trigger to go back to drinking because, like, what the hell? Like, I have no job now.
Exactly.
30 days after that, because I was a runner, I was having pain. I thought it was premenopause. Come to find out, it was Sage.
Oh my God.
Sage is the my 2-year-old son's name, and he was in there. And when I was running, whatever was happening. So it was a series of quote unfortunate events that
Mm.
led to what in the world just happened? No drinking, no job, and now I'm pregnant at
Now you're
45, and we're
pregnant.
still in the pandemic. What the hell?
Oh my
So
God.
and so after that is when I started just realizing, oh my gosh, life is honestly can never be the same again.
Yeah.
Life is just so perfect and magical for us.
Yeah. You're a perfect example that life happens for us because that's the way you see it, and not to us. And
Yes.
people have to understand that. You know, can we expand a little bit upon that? Because, Tony says it all the time that life happens for, I mean, obviously, I hear you express that in the way that you live, that you've taken everything as okay, this is what made me who I am today, so all these things
Yes.
happened for a reason, and I look back and I see, okay, now I understand who I am today. Can we clarify that for people, because that is so important and we don't talk about that enough.
And that's where I want to always get into that gratitude moment. So
Hmm.
earlier you said, gosh, I wish we would see some things that are happening now. But hindsight is the gift.
Yes.
Hindsight is the reason that we could say, dang, that was for me.
I
I
know.
was protected. I was guided. I was
Right.
taken literally by the hand. And
Right.
here you go. And so when I can remember that, last weekend we were in the pool and I said, babe, this is hindsight. You're the first person I'm sharing this with. And I said, both of us do not have our biological father's last name. we
Wow.
I just found out right before I got even pregnant with the baby that my father was adopted by my maiden name's father,
Oh
and
my
he
God.
was abused and he was in prisons and he had his own issues. My husband's father did not give him his last name. My husband was adopted. And I said, this right here is why people say they create a
Right.
new generation of thought leaders, of thought provoking humans, of people who believe all things work together for
Hmm.
good.
Yeah.
It's in the Bible, but it's also in the Tao. I don't know
Yeah.
which number Tao, but it's in the Tao that came 5,000 years before Jesus.
Right.
And it's all these alignments that all things, as long as we're just like looking at them as the observer and not the, oh my God, but this is happening. What are we doing?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Ah!
Yeah.
And now don't get me wrong. Sometimes I get caught up in that spin.
Yeah.
And at that moment is when we break our states, I call it. And I'm cleaning up the baby, or I'm laughing, or my husband says something like mashed potatoes, and it breaks my state. And so we have created keys into our life that we
Wonderful.
say something and it takes us out because we are creating a new generation. And to create a new generation, all things no longer exist in this now.
Yeah. What comes to my mind is laughter also, this laughter in the love, which is so important. Laughter alone is just noise, but laughter with love is just, I mean,
Yeah.
it's true laughter. I mean, I had to chuckle when you said, hot.
Mashed potatoes.
But why would you couldn't go on at that moment? You'd have to crack up and say, "Oh my God."
As a matter of fact, I'm going to put the little video. It's 90 seconds of a woman saying words that her little kid had said to call out stuff. It was mashed potatoes. Mork was milk. And so we laugh just at that, living like, what? When did we forget that we
Yeah.
can play, mamas? When did we forget that we can enjoy life, that we
Right.
can literally do nothing and everything's done? When
Yeah.
we can remember, Lucy, like you have given birth, even though maybe not biologically, but you have
Mhm.
given birth to a vision that is
Absolutely.
impacting millions of lives around the world. Who would have thunk that? But a
Absolutely. Not me.
mama.
Yeah, but I did
Yeah.
think of it.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my God, this is so cool. Everything you say is always so profound. Jamila, it's unbelievable. I
Thank you.
just love talking to you because when I talk with you, I can laugh at the same time, and I love that.
Yes.
Nothing. It's not that it's not serious. It's just fun. And if you
Mm.
can't have fun with what you do, then what's the point? It's
Yes.
unbelievable. Can we talk about it a little bit? Because I know you're another coach too. You're obviously a runner. You are obviously try to be an athlete, or you are an athlete. You also are a rowing coach. I mean, how
Yes.
does that fit into to the whole program? How does that complement your work as a healer and a coach?
Well, first, because I had to heal myself. Like I
Right.
reduced 45 pounds, 4 sizes smaller, strong at AF. Like when you see, look at the muscles right there, the
Yeah.
muscles. And so I laughed, but back in December, I went to another event, actually with you, Date with Destiny.
Date with
And
destiny.
I, at that point, was a client, a crew at the row house. Okay. But they weren't open yet. So I would just go into the dirty floors and I would do a little rowing and I was just addicted. At Date with Destiny, I said, I'm going to make it impossible to lose at my health and fitness. And I was like, what does that look like? I
Yeah.
literally that week got a text message from the GM and said, hey, we are auditioning for coaches for the row house. And I'm like, no, what? I said, are you sure? But I still got to lose weight. And they said, no, your energy is infectious. Let's do
Yeah.
it. I was like,
Absolutely.
okay. So I passed all the tests because there's a lot of tests. New York City row house people ain't playing.
That's
And so
unbelievable.
amazing. Yes, went through all the process and it has been an up leveling of my body, of my mind and my spirit. Mind. When I am there now coaching, it's because I'm coaching from my heart and my
Right.
highest self. When I have people come in and we have, because it is a boutique gym, we have doctors and lawyers, and I'm rowing with them, and I'm feeling like this, like when an airplane is about to take off, and I'm feeling that because I'm thinking, I still got fat on me, and they're here for me, and so I have to break the state of Yamile by
Right.
saying, only in America can we be rowing with doctors and lawyers and convicts. And they laugh as they're rowing. And I said, and convicts, I mean me. I'm a convict. Okay.
You were funny. You are so funny. Oh my God. So that's a wild story. I mean, your journey is fascinating. In part of your
Thank you.
journey and towards becoming a healer, other than obviously Tony Robbins, were there other mentors or teachers who really
Yes.
profoundly influenced your approach or your philosophy of life?
Yes. Yes. Bruce Lipton.
Oh,
Bruce
Bruce.
Lipton is
Yeah.
the biology of what I do. Joe
Uh-huh.
Dispenza is the science behind what I do. Let me see. And that's the thing is like I'm looking for a female, and one of my coaches says, "You are that.
There you
You
are.
are the Tony Robbins. You are the Joe Dispenza. You are that. So
Yeah.
walk in it, speak in it. And so what is powerful is when I get to interview mamas and they call me out with love,
Hmm.
what they're doing is not calling me out, they're calling me up. And I was with an incredible, mind blowing Jamie Herena, who is one of my mamas. And like, I was laughing and I said, yeah, I've been chasing my skinny ass for a long time. And she said, can I offer you that your skinny self is in you right now?
So, and
When
it's so
she's
true.
Yes. When she said that, I kid you not, my waist felt like it reduced by a couple of inches.
I can believe it. Yeah.
Because once I realized, wait, all of me that I desire in the future is actually here. It is not the what I desire, it is the who is going to obtain it. It
Yeah.
is the who has to show up. Who shows up to row at 5:45 in the morning? The badass mama that does it in the morning so that she could serve her children, so she could serve herself.
Wow, what a story. I mean, really. As you began your work with your moms, what were the most common issues that you noticed that they were struggling with? And then, of course, you had to tailor your approach to address some of these issues. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, some of the badass mamas, like they've got big businesses, were stuck in not wanting to be vulnerable.
Okay.
We're stuck in the processes of what society says
Right.
business should look like. Business is a spiritual game. I mean, Tony says this, but he's not the only one. This came from like hundreds of years ago.
Hmm.
Business is a spiritual game. And so when we could look at business more than just processes and development of to-do list and tasks, when we could say, what is the mission? All we have to do is a couple of things and everything is done. And the Tao says that. The Tao says that all that needs to be done is
Is
done in the being.
yeah.
And so that magic of having a baby, right? Or creating a baby, what you did, that magic of housing quietly a baby, a human being, Lucy, the
I know.
human being was in our
I know.
bodies.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. It's unbelievable the gifts that we were given as women. And what's unbelievable is that some have taken that gift and worked with it. Some have decided not to, as in my case. I mean, I made a decision not to do that. At the time, I didn't know why. I've never regretted it because I knew there was a bigger mission for me. And had I been caught in the mama state, I would have just, I think I would have ended up with my mother, who became a mother very young at her age, had 7 children. Her whole life was dedicated to motherhood. And
Yes,
then when we all
yes,
left home, and she, it's almost like she had no more mission. She had no more reason for living. And I think
yes.
I would have been caught there because I would have been caught in that. I don't know. I look back and think I had to get out of there, and I had to do something that bigger than just wanting to be a mother and have children. You know,
Lucy, can I tell you something?
absolutely.
Lucy, you are that mother that I desperately needed.
Hmm. Well,
You, even though you didn't know what you were doing, your love spread out to your students actually is collective. Just
right,
like the web from a spider,
right.
I felt your love for all those students. This is
Yep.
the student that was badgered in school, that was talked about, that was talked down to. But
Hmm.
your love allowed me to love myself and be on this screen right now with you.
Wow.
You mothered me when I needed that because my mother was had to put into a mental hospital.
Wow.
You are that mother for me.
And I'm just thinking what you just said, you have so much in common also with Shika, you know, whose
Yes.
mother was also put into an asylum. And it is amazing. It is just amazing how we get, it's amazing how we know we come to this life knowing there's a mission. You know,
Yeah.
we may not be aware of it. Some of us look for that mission all our lives. Some of us know what it is immediately. Some of us need to go through, it's a lot of challenges, hardships to figure it out.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So I want to talk about you being a healer of limitations because you did talk about limitations. You did talk about. I'm sorry, my phone is going on. I
It's
turned off
probably one of
my.
your kids. It's probably
I,
one of your kids.
I turned off my other phone. My phone never rings, to tell you the truth. And I'm just trying to cover the message here. So this is always going to happen when you do lives. So
Yes.
as a healer of limitation, can you elaborate on what it means and how you guide moms in breaking free from their limitations to achieve their dreams, maybe?
Yes, absolutely. So what we're doing is alchemizing the dreams of mama. Mindful badass
Alchemizing.
mama.
I'm going to stop you right there. Alchemizing. Now that's a big word. Okay.
Yes.
Can we stop right there and can you explain that a little bit?
Alchemization is a way to take something from here. Debbie,
Uh,
hello, I love her so much.
Thank you,
A
Debbie.
taking something that we think is worthless into something amazing and spectacular.
Okay.
But yet what people don't realize is that, quote, the worthlessness, the
Mhm.
compost has life-given properties.
Mhm.
It has exactly what is needed to see the unseeable.
Right.
Alchemization is only the realization that I am the alchemist in every area of my life. And so, in order to alchemize your limitations, is for you to give them up for a minute, a moment, a
Mhm.
breath. But you don't understand. I'm introverted. You don't understand. I've got 17 children. You don't understand. I have bills. You don't understand whatever
Yeah.
limitations we have. I have fat. I, can't do what you did because whatever. Any limitation that you have a mustard seed of faith
Hmm.
can be alchemized. Anything you say is good or bad. Anything you say is.
Is. Yeah, it is. That's well said. Absolutely. Wow. You've impacted so many people and so many moms that you work with. How has this role personally affected you and your own growth as a person and as a mom?
Show up for me.
Sure.
Filling the cups of moms comes from an overflowing of myself.
Hmm.
When I leave the gym, if I need a nap, I'm going to go take a nap.
Good. Hmm.
If my kid is asleep because I put him down, I'm taking a nap if that's what I want. Because the other thing is knowing what you want. If I don't want that, then I'm not going to have it.
Yeah.
But being super clear in what you want and being the who needs to address that issue. Even if it's not such a good situation or a really good situation, just being the who. So when I talk to moms and they come to me, and I always say on the flip side, because I do sessions online, when I talk to moms, and right now, actually, I'm offering a promo. It's about 45% off for a session, one-on-one session with me. They have to join the group, Mindful Badass Mama Show, because we're creating your show.
Okay.
I'm creating the number one Netflix show, but we're creating collectively the show of your lifetime,
Wow.
showing up for yourself. So when they come to me and they say, I had a client and in it, I can sense energy because once we're aligned with our highest, I could connect.
Right.
People call it maybe psychic, but it's NLP. There's a lot of different terminology, and it depends on which affects you that you don't go to it. But it's
Wow.
NLP as I'm talking to my clients, and I could tell when one of their archetypes pops in and says, "Hi, can you talk about me?" And I start pulling her out. We call it depends on whoever they name, the dark feminine, the light feminine, whoever it is, we talk about her. And when she shows up, oh my God, magic, alchemy, presence. Oh, it's intentional. It's beautiful.
Wow. You know, I'm always left, almost like speechless after you say things. It's like, I don't know. Your energy, of course, is so contagious too. And I just want to, I'm like the kid that I just want to keep listening to you. And what else are you going to say? And it's like, then I forget who I am. It's like, oh, I'm the interviewer here. So
You're so cute. I love you. I love you.
So, you talk about building generational wealth. That's really a bold statement, all right?
Yes.
So, can you maybe share a success story where maybe, with moms that you've worked with, where you have created maybe generational wealth? That may be, tell me if it's an unfair question to ask, but not just financial,
Please.
but in other
Yes.
aspects of that person's life, maybe,
And
also.
I'm glad you said that because it depends. So contagious, vibrant, Andrew. Debbie, you girl, I love you.
I know,
God,
I love Debbie too. She's just
Debbie is
thank you for
the
being here,
mama.
Debbie.
I
Look at the
love you.
three
Thank
of
you
us.
for being.
I mean, here's a famous trio. I mean, thank you, Debbie. We are a
Yes.
trio. Bad mamas.
Yes, badass mama. So when I talk about generational wealth, first I
Yeah,
have to find out, I have to connect with their worlds. What does wealth mean to them? Is it financial? Is it a partner? Is it body? Right? What is wealth?
yeah,
Healthy, vitality, what is it? Once you find out that, once you connect with their world, you realize, oh, okay, what she looks for is, and so I have a client. She's a badass mama, an amazing coach. She actually does human design. And when I worked with her, She had some stuff that needed to be let go of.
Mhm.
Once she freed it up, she became pregnant within 6 months.
Oh, wow.
Her dream to be pregnant, releasing that, and you could call it entity limitations,
Right,
releasing that energetic blockage that's
right.
keeping you from the next level, gets that. So we had one that conceived within 6 months. Another one, I had a second session with her, and I usually in 30 days I say, okay, what are we celebrating? And she said, oh, well, I met someone and I'm planning on going to visit Texas because he lives there. And I was like, excuse me? You wanted a partnership and you're planning to move? Let's talk about that. Right? So,
Right.
generational wealth. She wants a partner that is also growth minded as she was. And this guy, he's a hunka chunka too. So, it's just the differences are, it depends on where you're at. Not all of us want a number one Netflix show, right?
Right.
Another mama in 3 months made six figures. Another mama, Shika, created 100 portraits for 100 dreams,
Dreams.
a global event that brought the Prime Minister of India to know and recognize who she is. Why? Because she recognized who she is.
Right.
Those are the miracles. That's when I say, come experience your miracle, mama. That's the miracle.
Wow. You talk about dreaming out loud. That's a term that you use. Can you share maybe an experience, an example of a mama who transformed her life and inspired her children to dream out loud?
Absolutely. So, and speaking of children, I see them in my corner of my eye, so I'm gonna have to go right after this.
Hey,
The
sweetie.
dreaming out loud is
Mhm.
actually sharing. We have
Okay.
been conditioned for so long. The pandemic just gave us the 3D vision of what has been happening unconsciously for
Hmm.
century.
Right.
Covering our mouths, covering our voice, covering our mission
Right.
has been set in systems that are afraid. It's not that they're bad. The school system was created for some reason, right? But
Right.
then they started blocking themselves because of fear. All of these things that we see were created because somebody was afraid of them getting. So I put the stake in the ground. I put the stake in the ground saying by January 2024, we will have the number one Netflix mama show.
Wow.
And do you know what's happening in California right now? There's some strikes. And there are no producers that want to work with anybody right now because of the strikes that are
Oh, really?
happening with the SAG and the Writers Guild.
Wow.
Because those eight people, fearful people, want to take the human out of an actor and put it in AI.
Oh my God.
So they're trying to take away the human aspect.
Right.
So when my friend is an actress and everything is on hold right now because they went on strike, when
Right.
she told me that, I said, "Hun, the impossible is always possible
Right.
when you're doing it from your highest self." I said, "For me, I'm with you. Human connection can never be taken over from AI. I love you, AI, and I know you're listening to us right now. I love you. I love you. But check this out. AI can never take the human component of vulnerability."
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. So I know that you're rushed for time because your children are waiting for you. So there's so many people who are after they see this interview are going to want to connect with you. Now in the tickler, I have you will do private one-on-one sessions. So there's a time that they can book with you, and there's the information. What I'm going to do is after this interview, put all that information in the comment below so somebody can easily just click on it and get choose a time to for them to have a one-on-one. So I just want to thank you so very much. I want to
Thank
show
you.
Debbie's last comment: the impossible is always possible when you are taken aligned action. I want to thank Debbie for being here. We are absolutely the famous trio. We love what we do, and we love to have fun, and we play off of one another, so it's wonderful. So thank you, Debbie, for being here. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Yamile, for being here and taking the
Thank
time.
you.
You are wonderful. You are going to impact so many people's lives. I love what you
Yes.
do. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being who
Thank you.
you are. And thank you for my audience. And I'll see you next week. So
Yes,
bye.
we'll see you. Bye.